One series in the books, but dear friends, I have good news. Christmas has come early, and we have another one just on the other side. 100 Thieves, TSM. Winner advances to Masters. Loser goes home. Dan, Doug, on the mic, bringing you the action. It's going to be a good one. Dan, very quickly, any closing thoughts on the previous series, on LG specifically?
Oh yeah, they just look like they're developing quite nicely as a team. When they came onto the scene, they looked fairly standard. When we started seeing them in tournaments a few months ago. But yeah, lots of growth there. They've really come into their own. I think they found like stylistically a way to play the game that makes sense for their players, and they know what they're doing. And they're adding in a lot of those, as I mentioned, against TSM on Ascent. Again, that was the match for me that was really kind of telling to this. That's a map where you can play very tactically, very strategically. I know you asked for a quick answer. I'm not giving you one. But they really showed that they can play the mid round, they can play the information game, and they can adjust. And that's something that I think the Counter-Strike teams know how to do a little bit better. And so it's great to see that Luminosity is really killing it there, because they defeated TSM, and that needed to be TSM's edge, and they took it away from them.
Speaking of killing it there, let's say you're playing Valorant at home, and let's say your PC's not a little up to snuff and you're not killing it anywhere. I have good news for you. Our friends over at Nerd Street Gamers have stuff that you can go ahead and purchase. Check it out. Get your hands on pro-grade PCs at an insanely low price. nerdstreetgamers.com/gear. And man, let me wet your whistle here a little bit, let you know what's in store. An ATX full tower with an ASRock B360M motherboard, an i7-9700, a 2070 for a graphics card. I mean, 16 gigs of RAM. It is a beaut. Go ahead, check it out. Grab yourself one. I mentioned Christmas came early. You might as well. Go ahead, see what's in store, see if you can get anything taken care of. All right, let's take a look at the bracket, okay? Let's look at the bracket one more time. Let's see what we're playing for. Let's see how things have gone down. Again, winner's side, TSM, Luminosity. Luminosity gives them the left-right good night, sends TSM down. Luminosity qualify for Masters. That's all fine and dandy. That brings us here. Highly contested. I mean, like, Ali Frazier, TSM, 100 Thieves. This one's going to be a banger, Dan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. There's so much going on in this matchup, and I think it's just going to be quite difficult to talk. I like to pick which talking point we should address first, but it's certainly a matchup that has a lot of history here already, because of course this was the First Strike finals from last year, and it was really interesting because statistically it was like an anomaly. TSM had all of as I said before, like the KPIs, the metrics that would make sense to convert into wins, like getting way more opening picks, winning way more duels. Like, just there's so many things that went their way, but they lost so many clutches. And in the moments that really mattered, TSM were losing against 100 Thieves. But it's been a while since First Strike, and some things have changed recently. We've got Dicey, he's left the lineup for 100 Thieves, and they've now in his place, they've taken a Counter-Strike heavyweight, and they've taken Ethan. And he hasn't got a lot of experience with the game yet, especially the pro level. And so there's they're taking him under their wing and trying to give him some easier roles. And it does look right now, when you watch 100 Thieves, it does look like they're having to keep things a little bit more simple whilst they get Ethan. They're used to playing the game with them and working around him. But it's a long-term play, because Ethan has a huge degree of experience, and Dicey was very reliant on having performances on Jet. He didn't really have as much adaptation in terms of playing other agents, and if they wanted to switch up their styles, and knowing Steel and some of the things that Steel has vocalized about how this game is going to be played, or how he wants to be a trendsetter in this game and push the envelope. He wants to move away from heavy duelist compositions. So it makes a lot of sense to pick up a player like Ethan, who you can rely on on his experience and his mechanics.
Well, and like as we've seen, we just wrapped up a super dope replay package of TSM, and the narrative for them has been like returning to form, right? Like, this is the TSM that we've known. Obviously, the performance against Luminosity was less than stellar, pun intended. But the truth is, TSM, right? Like, they're getting back to where they were. And as you were mentioning, Dan, you teed it up so well, the addition of Ethan. But this, while different, as far as roster goes, right? The addition of Ethan, the removal of Dicey from the starting roster, you've got to think about the fact that 100 Thieves, think about their success when the roster first came together, right? It was a brand new roster. You had 3 Galaxy Brain old guys, and I can say that because I'm old too. And then you have these 2 like cracked out young stars, and it works, right? So for the addition of Ethan, while yes, as we saw earlier in the tournament, they looked spotty, right? Like it just wasn't, it's not fully there yet. I was watching Sliggy, shout out Sliggy, that it looks like their experiment might be too early, right? It's too early to be able to produce at a high level. The truth is, 100 Thieves have that pedigree. Excuse me. They've done it before.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too, is that, again, Ethan understands how to play in a structured system. He understands how to play at the top level. One of the things he was known for was being extremely stable at the pinnacle of this like mechanical level that was just really astounding. Like, he's mechanically an amazingly good player. Now in this game, it is a bit less about mechanics. The skill ceiling is a little bit lower in that sense, and it's more about reading the game, being able to be more versatile, and there's a lot of, you have to know, there's like more things that you have to understand and how to read in this game. It's just more utility, more different compositions and so on. So these are some of the challenges that he's going to run into that will be different than CS, but you know that this guy is a steady pair of hands. And so I'm really curious to see how that's going to come into fruition in this matchup in particular, because as you say, it's a clear talking point. It's not just that we're not looking at whether Ethan can frag out. That's like not what we're saying. What we're saying is, how has he changed the structure of the entire team just by being there? Because they're going to be a weaker form of the future version of 100 Thieves with this lineup right now. So they have to find ways to win an incredibly important match with that that element to their play. So it's going to be super interesting to see how they manage that in this important series.
There's no time like the present. Let's take a look at the maps and see where they're going to be trying to pull this off. Bans are in. We're going to knock those off the board first. Split, Haven, not a factor, and that's going to take us to Icebox, which we saw just a few moments ago between TSM and Luminosity. And second map, Ascent, which we also saw very recently, and then Bind. Now, we talked about how TSM should prefer, at least on paper, Ascent. That's a good map for them. But they really faltered against Luminosity, and then really, was there anything, Dan, if you could point at one silver lining, if you will, or like one X factor that TSM really need to lean into in order to take Icebox off the hands of 100 Thieves, given what we just saw against Luminosity, what would that be?
Ooh, it's a really interesting question, because I anticipate 100 Thieves to play the map quite differently to Luminosity.
Yeah.
I would expect 100 Thieves to play actually a style of that TSM will be more comfortable with, which is like a more structured, more default-centric style. Again, especially having Ethan, that's actually something that I think 100 Thieves would want to do. You're not going to have the time to play more complex tactical setups or more complex kind of timing-oriented set pieces that you might not want to rely on that. You want to play slower rounds. You want to try to condition your opponent. Just play the positional game. And that's initially when Icebox came out. That was how we saw 100 Thieves play this. They were like lurking. Steel was actually the lurker on this map, and he did a great job with it. So I would expect that to be the approach for 100 Thieves, and that's going to be a lot of pressure alleviated off of TSM. Because TSM had to really fight for position against Luminosity, and Luminosity are very dangerous in these fights, and their presence is very scary. So I would expect that we're going to see more room for TSM to work with here than versus Luminosity.
And that might be, that might be exactly what they need, right? Like, for the less than ideal performance they just had against Luminosity, this very well could tip in their favor. But again, we've highlighted Ethan. We've highlighted the pedigree to 100 Thieves and how, they come onto the scene. They have they have winning in their DNA, right? Like, if there was a team who would be able to adjust that quickly and pull off something like this in the middle of a run to qualify for the first Masters event, it would be 100 Thieves. So we'll see how things pan out. It's going to be a good one. We know Nitro's back, had himself a kid. He's back. He's feeling good. 100 Thieves, even with the roster change, even with Ethan in the fold, it's really hard to count them out.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think Icebox is interesting because it's a map that actually simplifies things in a lot of ways. You know, other maps are more complicated if you want to play that default style of play. But on this map, it's a little bit more cut and dry, I would say. So I feel like this is a pretty good battleground for both of these teams. And I'm hoping that we'll see a pretty competitive game here. TSM, despite being on the rough end of things a few times to Luminosity's aggression and skill, they actually managed to do a good job at fighting back and finding momentum at some point back. So it wasn't a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. Right. But in terms of the picks here, Hiko always likes to tease, so I doubt we're going to see that Viper pick. But you never know. With 100 Thieves, you never quite know. This is also like a very important match, so you would expect them to go with what they've been practicing, what they're comfortable with. And I don't think they've been running Viper on this map. So
no, but look, Dan, I bite every time. And I know it, right? It's Hiko. He's gonna do it every single time, but I can't help but see him like hover a Yoru or hover a Viper and go, no, come on. Don't do me like that. I bite every single time, but he's going to lock in that Sova. There we see compositions across the board. Now, it was actually interesting. We hovered the Sky, and I already was teeing up a couple of really dope questions for you, but Sky's not going to be in the fold. Very similar, actually, to the compositions that we saw just a few moments ago between TSM and Luminosity. 100 Thieves starting off on the attacking side. It's going to be a good one here, Dan.
Yep, definitely. And the pistol round is always fun because it may not look anything like any of the gun rounds that is to follow. So I would expect just to see something quick and interestingly, and I like this from TSM, they are sticking with what we saw a lot against Luminosity, which is that B long pressure, trying to make sure that they don't lose control of this, gives them options to quickly flank and retake A as well. So it's a good every setup. Nice. Deals with everything. And you know what? They've gotten 2 opening picks out of it, so it's certainly working out.
Yeah, the paranoia swung out, and you even saw apologies, I missed who it was, but there was somebody waiting for that, right? That from 100 Thieves, the paranoia comes out. He was still sitting back in spawn to check the aggressive peek, but Wardell wins that duel with the Ghost. TSM get a ton of room to work with, right? And they get so much information. Nice shot from Steel.
He's picked up the Sheriff and the pistol and is panning out. I mean, you just have to love Steel for so many things, right, in this game. The weapon choices, someone that shows the Guardian a lot more than other players, and just it generally makes interesting choices. The Sheriff and the pistol, really cool that's opened things back up here now for his team. Hiko is doing the damage as well. He's going to finish off what Steel set up for him. And these guys, the oldies, the boomers, are showing the youngsters how it's done.
Now, Dan...
Actually, I say that, but TSM are actually another team full of boomers, so I gotta scratch that.
Dan...
It sounded good.
It did. You set up, man, you teed that up in as best as you possibly could. The main point that you made when talking about the first bout between TSM and 100 Thieves was what? The clutch, right? 100 Thieves winning situations that they probably shouldn't, digging deep into some reservoir of chaos to make insane things happen, and it's already happened in the first round.
Yeah, that first like fadeaway Sheriff shot from Steel was just pure amazingness. It's just so good. And that just started something that couldn't be stopped. And once again, we'll see, in terms of defaulting, TSM putting a lot of pressure on B-Long. And this is information we're going to have to keep coming back to, because this is going to condition both teams to expect these kinds of positions and pressures early in the early timings of a round. So that's information you can play off of later on. We can see the quick reset out of that here from TSM, rotating everybody towards the A side of the map, anticipating that at the same time 100 Thieves are rotating there.
Right.
And that is the case. So this is a great play from TSM. It's going to work out.
And they're going to be first to market in the sense that, oh man, but this is what I was afraid of. So you see they peek, they show up, and then they start to think twice about it, get the yips and pull off, and that is the window in which 100 Thieves dashes in. Ethan going to be one of the first ones there. The wall's going to go up. That should give them a bit of room to work with. As the spike goes down, Asuna with one. Asuna looking for a second, going to drop the wall. He's going to get it. Wardell trades it out as Ethan gets in on it as well. TSM down to 2 members left.
And there's the late lurk from Steel. By the way, expect to see that a lot. That's what he's going to do on this map quite often. And Drone now has to show his prowess with the Sheriff. And there you go.
Wow.
That's a nice start to things. He winds it up, and unfortunately, unable to do much more than that. The shock dart will deny him, and 100 Thieves will clinch it. They did lose 3 players though, so I feel like TSM are going to feel good about that. They got hit some nice shots, did some good economic damage, and now we're into the real business. The rifles are starting to come out now for both teams.
Yeah, they are, and even see for TSM, it's a bit mixed. Now, Wardell opting to go for the Sheriff, 1 point away from the Bladestorm. Keep an eye on that. And for Hayes, he's going to have light armor, so are Drone and Sabrosa not going to have the same thing. Meanwhile, Steel's going to have light armor and a Bulldog in the hands of Nitro, but otherwise, rifles and armor across the board. 100 Thieves have shown prowess early on the attacking side, and here looking to continue to add onto that as they fight for mid control. Asuna, oh my gosh, he might slip in there entirely unchecked.
Yeah, this is a position that some teams will leave completely open, especially early on. This does feel quite risky to go up there, so they've hit a huge timing, huge window to gain some great position. See, Sabrosa is going to come through at the same time as the drones. The bait setup,
wow.
That's actually great from TSM. Oh, wow, that is awesome to see. And that's going to help them to now swing things in their favor a little bit. And 100 Thieves are going to have to push off of that because TSM are working out the info. And there comes the kill for 100 Thieves, opening up off the entry there through mid. And it looks like they have B side control. Cutler is going to have a lot on his hands here. There's a trade, and now it's down to Hazed.
Steel looking to get the spike down.
Spike planted.
Does have that lockdown. It'd be interesting to see if they use it this early on. Might not even get a chance. The turrets there draw a little bit of attention. As Wardell from the top rope, not able to land the shots with the blades, and the Sheriff doesn't come through as well. Steel gets the best of him. Hazed alone in a 1v3. Now, it's going to be... All right, never mind. I was going to say it could be something potential, but a 4K from Steel. 100 Thieves take a 3-round lead.
If I were Wardell, I would be raging, man, after that one. That was really rough because if he picks up that kill with the knife, it looked like he was going to get it. It looked like he had a free target there. That's really unusual that he wouldn't find the kill there. Then, of course, the nice refresh. He's got a really nice high ground position. He can play off of his teammates' contact. They can play bait off of each other. And suddenly, you know, this 2v2 becomes incredibly winnable. So for TSM, as you said, against 100 Thieves, it feels like in the clutches, they just don't quite seem to get the same love. But more pressure around the B-long position. Coming in here now from 100 Thieves. And looking just to clear out these spots. And it's looking good so far. Not really too much to contest this. Of course, TSM on a buy.
Well, with the this is what's interesting. Wardell has an op. Everyone else has pistols. So 100 Thieves should have a pretty notable advantage. Keep an eye on Wardell, how he plays this out. Imagine he wants to stay alive if this round goes sideways, but 100 Thieves have gotten onto the site. It looks like they're going to get the spike down at the hands of Nitro. Hazed on a potential flank, but Steel sniffs it out. The lurker gets lurked. Now, 100 Thieves try to keep control of the site. The paranoia is there. Nitro stays, swings. Wardell with the op again. Asuna takes care of Cutler, but again, that operator is still in the fold. It's still a problem. The lockdown being used as it's just down to Wardell.
Yeah, and it's tough. He has to keep this alive. Oh, the timing is really awful, unfortunately, for him there. Unfortunately, that is just how it be sometimes in tactical FPS games. And 4-0 is now the score in favor of 100 Thieves. And TSM, they will be able to get a full buy. Of course, you can see the operator in hand for Wardell again, spelling everything. And
Right.
It's looking really nice economy-wise for 100 Thieves. They're off to a very solid start.
And
They are shifting attention to A this time as well at the beginning of the round.
Yeah. And look, they're good financially, sitting pretty on the scoreboard right now. And for TSM, oh, actually, I like this. Let's see if Wardell can connect onto anything. He's got to spot the turret. Nice shot. Steals out.
Big kill to get. Again, as we've talked about, Steel is someone that's going to lurk a lot, especially in rounds like this with this A push. They do count on Steel to get those lurking kills up mid later on. And they also won't have the benefit of his utility, the turret, nano swarms. And this is really interesting because you can see that 100 Thieves have recognized that TSM are playing retake. They play for the res. So that's a lot of info. Of course, you know that Sage has to be there. That's 2 players now in mid. So off the bat of this reset, TSM pulls everyone off of B initially. So now they don't know if there is a play into B or if the play continues to A, and if this is a fake or not. Trade comes through, and they are just having to play retake here. Although it has to smoke that. He can't shoot the operator and also deal with the recon. So it's getting really awkward here now for TSM. As 100 Thieves hit a nice timing into this A site. And now it's on the retake for TSM. This has been so difficult.
And you see Steel, who's been waiting back in the spawn the entire time. Now he's going to join in. So 100 Thieves being able to do so without one of the members on their squad in on the action. And it seems to be going sideways, of course, as soon as I say that. Sabrosa and Cutler get a kill apiece. But the spike has gone down. It's just down to Hiko and Steel. Paranoia is going to push him back. Steel drops. It's down to Hiko. And Hiko, who's been, I mean, he's been good at stuff like this many a time. He's good for one. The Hunter's Fury, no freaking way. Tags up both. Look at the stick to the fuels and no freaking way. Captain Clutch does it again. Hiko wins the round for 100 Thieves.
It's just not fair, is it? It's this guy. He's just so annoying to play against. The timing there was just unbelievable. And Hiko is just going to steal it. How many rounds does... I mean, they are called 100 Thieves after all, I suppose. But they are... And I'm not trying to make a joke out of it. I feel like that's really lame. But
no,
it's just happening time and again that they are stealing these rounds away in these clutch moments. And that's got to be immensely frustrating for TSM.
Dude, what do you do with that? Right? Like, just unreal. Absolutely unreal. Hiko, and again, just like picking up right where he left off. It wasn't the Hunter's Fury, it was the Vandal, but either way, the results are the same. Wardell taken out. Man.
That is rough. Especially, I mean, it put TSM into this situation. No money to play with, and it just feels like, I mean, it's, you know, 100 Thieves aren't doing anything special. Obviously, at the beginning of the round, they are just holding positions in the spawning ship just because they are expecting maybe a mid aggression, and they can play those headshot angles with their rifles, which is obviously very favorable. So this is a very good thing to do, but it almost feels like they're trolling. You know, almost like it feels a little bit like they're trolling. They're not, but it just feels like that. And because it's 6-0 up, and everything that 100 Thieves is doing in these clutches feels like TSM is just really coming into it, just so much misfortune. So hopefully we can see a moment here for TSM, much like against Luminosity, where they're able to turn their fortune and find a way to do that. And they have the ultimate advantage leading, you know, into this next round. And we do have a timeout coming through as well, which is, I can only presume is a tactical.
I would presume.
TSM, that's what I'm going to hope. I'm going to just guess. I don't know for sure.
Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that Hiko clutch one more time, just to really set the stage of the filth that just took place. So Hiko, Color goes in aggressive, and that's the right play. But Hiko holds it back and then had that Hunter's Fury, just unreal, right? Like, you talk about and how important confidence and momentum is in this game, right? Like, if you're feeling yourself, if you're feeling your shots, you're gonna take fights, and it seems like when you're feeling yourself, more often than not, you win them, right? And 100 Thieves just leans into that so hard, and it seems to pay out for them more often than not.
It really does. And we mentioned, you know, TSM might find a way back in off of the ultimate. Definitely something to think about here. They have the Killjoy lockdown available, so it is something they can use to not have to fight for sites and lose potential kills early on, and they can instead play the lockdown for the retake. Sabrosa using Omen's TP, obviously, to get some nice angles here for Round Long. Great stuff there from him, but at the same time, the push through kitchen up tube is going to cause problems. Asuna just barely gets the rocket out in time to take down the opposing Rays. Drone dies by yellow, and that's going to be a site that's now clear, but they have to ferry across the spike. It's not in position just yet, so still problems here potentially for 100 Thieves in coming to completion on this spike block.
Yeah, for sure. And then in Sabrosa on the flank, the fact that TSM have 3 ultimates to work with, and to add insult to injury, the spike is down in a precarious spot where 100 Thieves can't easily get onto to really take. Steel has to go for that. Sabrosa gives in the business, dismisses him as TSM continue to pile it on. 100 Thieves just down to 1 player left. Nitro left alone with 53 health. The dart is there. Great swing by Nitro, though, to equalize things. But again, Dan, this is... I mean, you're staring up Mount Everest here.
Yeah, definitely. And there's no orb, is there? I don't think there would be. Oh, there is. So Could actually get a res.
Well?
There should be, I mean, it's 20 seconds though. That's really the problem. He's going to go for it. Nitro picks up the res on Ethan. Let's see what they have to just get the kills here. There's no other opportunity to win this round. So there goes Ethan, takes down Sabrosa, one more player to find, but just playing the time and just not allowing this to even be possible here for Ethan. So interesting to go for the res there. I think that's just really just, I think that's one of those moves where it's a confidence thing and not even necessarily confidence of winning the round, but just like, we can get away with anything. We don't need the res. We can just get away with anything. And that's going to feel pretty awful to TSM that is a situation which they can't even just crush. We can't just crush our way through to the end of this round.
Right. Everything
seems difficult. And that's psychologically definitely an edge that 100 Thieves have at the moment over TSM. But again, they are experienced and one would expect them to not be too affected by such things.
Well, and even Sabrosa there at the end with the res, he had the ace sitting in front of him. He dinks him, hits him for 140, but because he was using a Phantom, which let this be as a lesson for you folks. Use Vandals at home, not able to get the ace. Everything really proving to be difficult for TSM here. Wardell goes aggressive steal, dispatches him. 100 Thieves should have a bit of room to work with. Towards A, you see Sabrosa uses from the shadows to get information, drops back. And for TSM here, I don't know that they know enough.
Cover going out.
This is a tough one here. There goes the wall. That was a pretty unharassed plants there for Nitro, pulling back the post plant. 100 Thieves looking pretty good. The Hunter's Fury that is available for Color. He's going to drop in there. Oh, hello. Buys the finishing shots there at the steal. He was, of course, detained. And Ethan's just watching that flank. And, that's a huge kill for Sabrosa. Now there's a really big problem. You got Hiko sitting up here in the nest. He's got his partner there. In crime, Asuna looking to try to find a way to prevent this spike from being diffused, and it's up to Hiko. Can he really do it again? Looks like this time, no dice for 100 Thieves and TSM. You know, we were looking for them to find some fortune, and it's happening. They won the key opening duels, and it led to a pretty uneventful retake. And finally, they look somewhat comfortable.
They do, and I think that this feels like, I may be misremembering, but I want to say it was a round later than where we saw TSM really get going on Ascent against Luminosity, right? They dropped, I think, it may have been 6 rounds or maybe 5 rounds, but either way,
5,
yeah, either way, like this is where TSM really turned the page on Ascent against Luminosity, and they're now looking to do that here against 100 Thieves on Icebox. They still have the Hunter's Fury. They have the Showstopper as well. We've seen Asuna with the willingness to really go balls to the wall and do some pretty aggressive stuff early on with the Showstopper. We'll see if TSM is willing to do the same. Well.
Oh, there goes the play. The Showstopper's pulled out. That's going to create a lot of space as well, forcing those players back. Doesn't get maybe the value he was looking for, but still caught out on the lurk in mid by Wardell. It's going to create some sense of urgency here for 100 Thieves. There's 3 players for TSM around B long, and they're redroning this position. 100 Thieves are in trouble if they decide to commit for this. And that's 2 players spotted in this position. Nice anticipation there from Sabrosa, finishing off both players, leaving just 2 left for 100 Thieves. Yikes.
Yeah, and they're, interesting decision by 100 Thieves to commit to that anyway, right? Like even after the pick across the middle, for them to choose to go into B, knowing that there were a couple players there, and they just kind of almost like systematically walked into the crosshairs of TSM. But I think either way, the narrative continues, right? TSM starts slow, and then all of a sudden they explode.
Yeah, it's interesting because I liked the attack on B long, the kind of just staying around there, just because I think that you normally would expect after the initial picks are won there that the defenders will go more passive because they don't want to give up more engagements like in forward positions. And so TSM doubling down there was, I think, something that 100 Thieves didn't expect. And that also is a show of confidence from TSM that they're not afraid to take these fights when they have the advantages, which is really important. That's like in terms of like a winner's mentality thing. It's I think a really important thing at the top level. And it's the slowest start here as we see, Steel dropping the alarm bot there in mid, in the dark cover. And, it's the start of the default here for 100 Thieves, trying to work on that B-long control. And it's important too, because when you clear this with a drone, you put the ball in the court of the defenders, who now they hear that drone, they know that space could there could be someone walking behind that drone. Right. It's kind of up to them to then either recheck that and get the info back, or to push something else.
You see, TSM just did the same thing across the middle, right? Then shortly after that drone expires, Sabrosa peeks, takes care of Steel. Nice opening pick for the defending team.
And you can kind of see here as well that it's kind of hard for TSM, even though they're up a player, to know what's going on. So they're going for a push with Sabrosa. They want that mid-round, or well, it's actually kind of late round now, info play to figure out where is the rotation going. Because they lost that B long control earlier on, so they don't really know what's happening. They're giving up this A site as well. And 100 Thieves will walk straight into this. So it does feel like this round is going to be a tough one for 100 Thieves, but they should get a post plant out of it. That said, TSM have Hunter's Fury, so they could deny it. And they may try to do that, and it's a high position for Asuna to try to prevent them from getting position here.
Paranoia is going to come out. Asuna is going to get tagged up. TSM up from the top rope. Sabrosa had a great spot, but Asuna gives him the business. Nitro does it as well. It's these chaotic moments where 100 Thieves seems to shine. Nitro going to invest the res onto Hiko as they try to go in aggressive. Nitro gets another one. Drone trades it out. Hiko has to back up. No Hunter's Fury for shenanigans here, but he is one kill away. And Nanostorm is going to come out. I believe it got to have no freaking way. Hiko does it again. He's got the Hunter's Fury. The shot dart's there. The swing. Hayes stops it. Stuffs it dead in his tracks. TSM take the round away.
Wow. TSM, really great retake there. That was looking really scary. As you said, like that one frag off the Hunter's Fury, Hiko trying to find a spot to reset, trying to find a way that he could workably use it. But really heads up stuff there from TSM to just chase him down. And again, it was an interesting round because 100 Thieves gave themselves a lot of opportunities because, again, the way that they played the default cleared so much space in the first minute of the map that TSM didn't really know what was going on. And it forced TSM to give up a spike plant. And so with that said, there's always going to be a chance for 100 Thieves. So we'll see if they go for something similar, if they speed up the pace here, as that was a very slow round. And once again, the default starts out with this B long pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the slight difference from what we saw last time, no presence from Steel further up tube quite yet. But again, you mentioned the default. The smoke from Omen, the utility right in the middle, and then Steel tries to take some space away. But, this time we talk about the utility fight across B, which is often what we're seeing these two teams try to do is just go ahead, duke it out, throw some utility at each other, see what can be drawn out, and then the rotate comes through, and then they decide from there. This time it seems like 100 Thieves wanted to go much sooner, and it looks like they want to go towards A. You see that smoke, the Paranoia comes out, the drone was there as well. Excuse me, Wardell misses the first one, but he does not miss twice.
Yeah, and so with that kill, for sure, it's going to be a little bit annoying for 100 Thieves, but they still get the plant, so it's kind of a gentleman's agreement at this point. TSM reset for position on retake, and the spike gets down on the side with 3 players for 100 Thieves for the retake. Now, Steel is definitely, he's been sitting in mid this whole time as the lurk. So Steel, if he finds a good timing, could change the round immensely. But if he misses that timing, could lose the round for his team. Let's see Nitro, though, creeping through the dark cover, finds himself a good spot. And we actually see Steel going back here to try to find a way to help his team out. Hiko trades it at the very least. And Hiko, we know he has that Hunter's Fury, but so does Cutler.
Ethan was there. Ethan really goes big there. Nitro gets one. Cutler trades him out. Cutler alone in a 1v2. He's running out of time. He's running out of health. I don't know that he has time to do much of anything here. And, Dan, it was really interesting because you saw Sabrosa use the From the Shadows to get back into the defending spawn, essentially over by A. Steel was holding the middle of the map, so he takes care of Hayes. And you see Hiko has to check that, right? That can't be left alone. So oftentimes what you'll see is the defending or the team fighting for the retake will forcibly pull members of the attack back towards their spawn to deal with the flank. And at that moment, you see the team that's trying to retake then aggress onto A. But Ethan stayed there, right? He was the line of defense while Steel and Hiko were trying to deal with the nonsense, the monkey business that was happening behind them. Very well played by 100 Thieves.
Yeah, and I'm really loving the dark cover and alarm bot and mid setup that they have. I think that's awesome. And so, this is really nice, just trying to mess with the timings, the aggressive timings, and also to suggest aggression. But as we can see, Sabrosa is already in a deep position on B-Long, so you can kind of call the bluff here, and they may not be expecting him, but still, doesn't mean they can't frag him. Ethan reacting. and then it goes the drone clearance. So right now, it really feels like a B split. In fact, it actually is a B split. Asuna there with the showstopper, using the satchels to get into position. Hunter's Fury coming out as well. So lots to worry about right now for TSM as they try hard to hold onto these site positions, but it's not working out all too well. Cutler, though, he's still holding on to his Hunter's Fury while Dell pulls out the Blade Storm. So TSM 3 versus 5. And they're not down and out just yet, though.
Spike planted.
Oh, certainly not. Hiko gets a spike down. That certainly puts him closer to down and out as Asuna continues to cause problems. Nitro does as well. Hazed alone with 45 health. Well, that's all she wrote. 100 Thieves look really good on the attacking side on the first half of Icebox, but for every one side of the coin, there's another that needs to be looked at. We're going to cut to a break. When we return, the culminating half on Icebox between TSM, 100 Thieves. Don't go anywhere.
Got the money in the bank. Hit you with the bank. Hit you with the Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the Hit you with the 808. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang, 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 bang. I'm a boss, and you know that I'm finna shine. Got the money in the bank. Got the money in the bank. Got the money in the bank. Bank, 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 bank. Got the money in the bank. Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the
Welcome back, dear friends, to the second half of Icebox. 100 Thieves look really dang good on the attack, and now it's up to TSM to test their mettle, see if they can replicate some of that success on the mic with you at home. Doug, Dan, what are you looking for from TSM here?
They've got to find ways to win some of these clutches, man. It's really crazy because when it comes down to it, there's a lot that they're doing well and they're doing right. It's just how you finish.
Right.
You know, it's the ABC rule: always be closing. You got to close those rounds out. And so far, 100 Thieves definitely have that in the bag, but we'll see on the pistol if anything is going to be different. I like the Sage Wall on this A site. I think it's really awesome on these pistols. Oh, just playing that cheeky headshot angle. That's so weird, but seeing the Boombot just strolling past him, somehow still alive, manages to delay the Boombot just long enough to pick up the extra kill. And with all said and done, it leaves just one. Cutler is able to trade onto Hiko at the very least, but Asuna is too cracked to allow Cutler to survive.
What a round, right? Like and you know, it really was well played because you see that Roomba, you see the bot go by. It's not going to trigger you. They have no idea that you're there, and then as he does, he swings, gets another pick. It was well played, but it was a chaotic pistol round to say the least.
Yeah, and it's definitely what TSM did not need to have happen. And you know, it's a really struggle. They have to, of course, save now, and that's 100 Thieves on our 10 rounds, and we all know how it goes. But we'll see if they can get off to a good start when they get onto that first gun round.
Interesting early aggression. We were actually just talking about how good Ethan has looked for 100 Thieves so far, and there we see him in a role where you're asking a bit more out of him, going aggressively there. He gets one, and then Sub Rosa swings on him. He gets another one. Asuna does as well. TSM on less than desirable weaponry falling apart here against 100 Thieves.
Yeah, and you can see Ethan is he's just playing the basics really, really well here. How he's holding his angles, how he's challenging, how he's jiggling for information, clearing things effectively, just doing all the basics and the fundamentals extremely well. And that's the thing. You know that this guy is going to have just absolute, just cream of the crop level fundamentals. It's just building all the rest out onto him as time goes on that will be, what makes a difference. And so far it is, just simple. Keep it in the aiming roll, throwing some smokes, some paranoias, holding angles. Like it's very reliable right now what they're doing with Ethan. So that's good for 100 Thieves. But we talked about how important the first gun run is, and here we are.
Cover going out.
We will see 100 Thieves riding a bit of a bonus. You see Steel with an Ares, Nitro has a Judge, but definitely want to keep an eye on that. But for TSM here, you've got, as you mentioned, your first gun round. This is where, for TSM, you don't have very many windows left of being able to mount a comeback on Icebox. This is, it's not entirely do or die, but it's pretty dang close.
TSM have found a hole here in the defense. They've managed to walk up towards the kitchen. Of course, there is an alarm bot there, but at the same time, they've gained position, even though they have allowed 100 Thieves to be aware as to what they're doing. Well, with that said, it's a nice flank coming in from Aston that finds his way through the tube, and maybe TSM moving a little bit too slow, unfortunately. It's just hard to know, and they will collect the spike, and they have some ground towards this AB bomb site, but unfortunately, it really did come down to Cutler being able to hit one of those shots, because look at all the ground now that's able to be gained by 100 Thieves around the site. So at this point, TSM have to hit some crazy shots, even to have a chance to plant the spike, and they are committed to the site.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do something filthy just to get the same zip code, right? But for 100 Thieves, even with that in mind, the bonus, they lost one, but otherwise they're sitting pretty financially. Look, you see, we'll take a look and see if they choose to continue to kind of pad the wallets, or how they choose to play this out. Nitro still has the Judge. I imagine he's going to buy up to full armor, I would presume. But either way, man, 100 Thieves, financially, they look good. On the scoreboard, they look good. And TSM, we talked about how it may be do or die. That window just continues to close.
Yeah, it does. Sabrosa.
Oh, wow.
That Sheriff looking to try to open things up again. By design, the kitchen's left open. They have the alarm bot up there, and I like that because, obviously you see a lot of people throwing walls in there, and it's just really bad, I think, to just throw walls without them being reactive, and it's such a strong piece of utility, I guess, easily wasted. So good to see that that's not the use case in this instance. Hiko's going to be able to find the kill there onto Sabrosa, lurking around, and again, we know that the weaponry is just not great here for TSM. Now, this is the reason the area is pretty, or the Odin's pretty nuts from this position.
One enemy remaining.
Also deals with the walls pretty effectively. Oh, hello! Here comes Drone. He's got the Sheriff in hand, and he's really making it rain at this point. It's going to be difficult for him to get much more, though. He's going to try to jiggle it. But unfortunately, 100 Thieves will get themselves to 12, and Doug, it's looking like a foregone conclusion on map 1.
Yeah, it is. Now, we have a few moments. Dan, continue to break down the point you were making around the wall. Just dropping that wall instantly. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it's definitely something you see as a crutch in matchmaking, that people would just wall things, but if you just throw down a wall, either it can be destroyed instantly, which obviously is then you can just reset afterwards as a team. Right. You deal with the wall, and now they just don't have that utility. You want to make sure that it's impactful. So that's really the question you got to ask yourself: is this actually impactful? Is this actually stopping something or doing something? And so at the pro level, every piece of utility is gold and needs to be used as such. So that's really the best way just to think about it.
TSM here, backs against the ropes on Icebox. 100 Thieves they're leaps and bounds ahead of TSM as far as score goes. TSM having to play, really having to play perfect Valorant from here on out just to get us to overtime. And then to have to go through that is obviously a difficult task in and of itself. We'll see what they have in store. They do have the Showstopper. They do have that Hunter's Fury. What they don't have is time.
It's kind of ridiculous as well how much Steel can do in terms of delay with the Odin from that position. under tube. It's pretty disgusting, and you can see he's just getting free damage out of it, and also a kill.
Enemy remaining.
Spamming the Odin. He's not even having to do anything. He's looking at a box and just holding down mouse 1. Come on. This is not fair, is it? And he goes right in there to finish things off. And speaking of not fair, Hiko's had, so many great clutches here, but it's going to be 13-4, 100 Thieves. They're looking so good on Icebox, but they got off to such a good start. They won so many important clutches, and that it seems to be the storyline that just goes beyond, that transcends, beyond any one matchup between these two teams.
Right.
Because that's exactly the same story we've had in previous matchups.
Right. And it doesn't seem to be slowing down, as we saw on Icebox. There are always fireworks when these two teams play. Icebox was no different, 13-4 in favor of 100 Thieves, but we do have Ascent just around the corner. Folks, we're going to cut to a quick break. When we return, map 2, TSM fighting for Masters life. You're not going to want to miss it. Don't go anywhere.
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here because this is just turning into a bit of a dogpile.
Like in groups always look.
I'm cutting you off here. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said G2's winning it. He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt.
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.
Contrast stitching, curves that'll hug your body, adjustable arms, custom embroidery, memory foam pillows, changeable color inserts, lay flat, recline, removable logos, soft, durable material. Yeah. Like what you see, baby? Zip chair.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice. And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless? On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.